When my grandmother died, she was blind. Age-related macular degeneration slowly destroys the light-sensitive layer at the back of the eye. It's a heritable condition. My mother has it. I did a genetic test, and I have it too. I probably have 15 or 20 years or so before it starts, which is why I'm very interested in Elon Musk's quest to restore vision in blind people that'll allegedly make them see even better than they previously could. Resolution will be low at first, like early Nintendo graphics, but ultimately may exceed normal human vision. Forget about building particle detectors. I'll find dark matter just by looking. Okay, more seriously, I'm a little skeptical, which is why I was very interested to see a paper that came out just the other week that investigated Elon Musk's claim. Let's have a look. Elon Musk likes the idea of implanting chips into other people's brains, and quite possibly he also likes that it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. His company Neuralink recently made a lot of headlines because it enabled a paralyzed man to play chess merely by thinking.
I love playing chess, and so this is one of the things that y'all have enabled me to do, something that I wasn't able to really do much the last few years, especially not like this. I had to use like a mouse stick and stuff, but now it's all being done with my brain. If y'all can see the cursor moving around the screen, that's all me, y'all. It's pretty cool, huh?
The idea of Musk's bionic eye is to send information from a camera that might be mounted on glasses to electrodes implanted in the visual cortex. Suitably stimulated, that should produce an image without involving any part of the eye. Musk has dubbed that project Blindside. This design goes a big step further from already existing devices called retinal implants. These have been around for about 2 decades and are implanted not onto the brain, but into the eye and work by stimulating the nerves at the back of the eye. The signal either comes from a camera or is an amplification of light that falls into the eye. They do successfully restore a very limited sort of vision. It's generally not great, but anything is better than nothing. Blindside, however, goes a step further by putting the chip onto the brain rather than into the eye. It's supposed to work by cutting away the skin on your head, drilling a hole into the skull, plugging thin wires into the visual cortex, putting the chip into the hole, and sewing the skin back over it. All of this is done by a robot because you don't accidentally want visual information to go into your nose, do you?
There you go. That's the first insertion.
The chip has 96 flexible threads. They contain 32 electrodes each, which makes a total of about 3,000 electrodes. The device is an upgrade over earlier designs in that it has thin flexible contacts coated by a polymer that's supposedly biocompatible and is powered by a battery that can be recharged contactlessly. If you ask me, that's a great improvement over having cables hanging out of your hat. In a press conference of sorts from earlier this year, Neuralink shared an image illustrating the resolution of the device that they are currently working on. It's rather grainy dots, as you can see here in this representation of this street image. Now you might say, okay, but look, all you need to do is more wires and that'll get you a higher resolution. Well, this is where the new paper comes in. The authors of the paper say it's not that easy because it's not how visual perception works. It's not like one dot in the visual cortex is one pixel in the image, you see. It's more complicated. They took all that's known about the workings of the visual cortex and created a computer model that shows the approximate image a person would see for different placements of the electrodes. These are examples for the image reconstruction of a cat video from about 2,000 electrodes or so. So a little less than Neuralink, but roughly comparable. Yeah, it's not great, but I take it over being blind. The authors of the paper point out, however, that shape recognition isn't as easy as just adding more electrodes. Neurons fire in patterns and in certain sequences to trigger the perception of moving shapes. They say that for the time being, the limitation isn't the number of electrodes, it's that we don't know well enough how neurons give rise to images. They write, Our simulations suggest that in the foreseeable future, the perceptual quality of cortical prosthetic devices is likely to be limited by the neurophysiological organization of the visual cortex rather than engineering constraints. In the press release, one of the authors, Ian Fine, is quoted with saying, "Engineers often think of electrodes as producing pixels, but you can't stimulate 44,000 cells in a blind person and say, draw what you see when I stimulate this cell." Basically, they're saying that Elon Musk's idea of a better than normal human vision is nonsense. Neuralink is of course not the only company working on neural implants. An interesting competition is the US/Australian company Synchron, because they're working on a brain interface that does not require open brain surgery. They instead want to deliver electrodes through blood vessels, and they have completed some very interesting trials. It seems like a good idea to me, because having a hole drilled into my head isn't my idea of a fun afternoon. As you can see, it's not easy to be well informed. This is why I would like to encourage you to have a look at Ground News, which has really helped me make sense of news and has also helped me to save time. Ground News is a news platform that provides you with a lot of extra information that you don't find in the standard media. Ground News just introduced a cool new feature called My News Bias. It's a dashboard which tells you what sources you're looking at yourself, whether you lean left or right, what locations of the news you read, or their factuality. It really helps me to become more conscious about my reading habits. Ground News also has this cool feature which they call Blind Spot. It shows you news which has been covered almost exclusively by one side of the political spectrum and has been ignored by the other, which is especially useful now during the US election campaign. If you want to give it a try yourself, use our link ground.news/Sabine so they'll know I sent you. This will get you a big discount on their Vantage plan with access to all their features. It's never been more important to be well informed than today, so go and check this out. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.